why would I continue to volunteer compliance?
He spewed anger and threats. He obsessed over wild conspiracy theories. But during his 9-month standoff with federal paramilitaries, he never actually committed an act of violence. Yet today, Ed Brown of Plainfield, New Hampshire, received a sentence 5 times as long as that of the al-Qaida terrorist al-Marri. The Islamo-fascist is scheduled to leave his detention facility in just a couple years, while Ed Brown can look forward to dying in his. His sentence? 37 years for weapons and conspiracy charges. There are bad things you can say about Ed, and good. In the 3 years since he boycotted a tax evasion trial and holed up in his house, I've never heard any indication that Brown ratted on his friends or family. He never gave in or surrendered, although he did offer to pay the tax after his trial began. He took no violent action against those he suspected of betrayal, and often apologized when he realized he was in the wrong. During the 9 months he and his wife attempted to hold government forces at bay, their home became intermittently a small town. It was a place the government watched and infiltrated, but did not control. Armed men and women poured in and out by the hundreds. Weapons of all kinds, including explosives allegedly, filled the home and sometimes its surroundings. Yet no one was ever harmed in this tiny rebel province except by direct government action. It was a government which did exercise some elements of restraint, some of its operatives risking their lives rather than ending Ed's on the spot. But the only acts of violence, limited as they were, came at Washington's bidding. Roughly 9 deeds in all, directed against 6 people. Shots fired with intent to hit. Tasers. Tackles. Not the stuff of which genocide is made, but deeds that protected only the government, not you. Deeds they demand you underwrite. If the Washington government survives intact 10 years or more, both Ed and his wife Elaine will likely die prisoners. Their sacrifice brought fruits, benefits to liberty, but they were not proportionate to the cost. The Browns weakened the government in some ways, strengthened it in others. My rough guess is that when the couple departs this world, authorities will have hemorrhaged roughly $4 million attacking and incarcerating them. This does not count the additional millions which may be expended on their 4 jailed supporters. The Browns' cantankerous approach in 2007 inspired some to action and revealed a roiling discontent with Washington, a discontent already lurking under the surface of a pre-bailout, pre-Ron Paul America. They showed us what a rebel province would look like, how good and bad it would be. Their stand lit government phone lines with thousands of concerned calls, worrying about the safety of the elderly couple. They forced authorities to loudly reveal certain techniques, some popular, some not, all beneficial for freedom fans to observe and comprehend. Infiltration, lying to mainstream cameras, use of selective, lengthy prison sentences for victimless deeds, delayed blockade, patience, waiting for excuses to act, use of local authorities to carry out unrelated prosecutions, targeting of the least popular rebels, blog surveillance, hidden cameras, threats against relatives of the accused.
Get back in the vehicle.
On the other hand, Washington's ministers in Concord were able to prove their ability to move past Waco, to handle armed rebellions without alienating the bulk of the public. It boosted their credibility with some, while still motivating a minority to action against them. They brought some of the least likable freedom fighters to the front, where they withered under persecution and largely disappeared back into the neighborhoods and workplaces of their communities. Events surrounding the Brown standoff poisoned the once courteous relations between New Hampshire's New Liberty migrants and her federal occupiers. Ultimately, the Browns reminded us how not to do activism, how not to rebel. But they also reminded us what is behind the government. No matter how concerned or cautious it may be, no matter how much it has learned, and no matter how closely our alert citizenry documents its endeavors, it is only one thing. Not reason, not logic, only force.
Have you ever wished you could just grab the president's attention for a few seconds? There is one Free Stater who's apparently already done it. Michael Hampton over at homelandstupidity.us. Hampton reports that a summary of at least one of his articles ended up in the president's daily news briefing. So, why do powerful Americans pay attention to homelandstupidity.us? Well, it's because Michael Hampton is a great whistleblower. Drop by homelandstupidity.us and see for yourself what the fuss is all about. homelandstupidity.us